anyone who enters the arena of conscious evolution must make the effort to acquaint themselves with the territory. What is the territory? The territory is consciousness. The territory is your own self. There are different levels or dimensions to who you are. You need to understand and be able to distinguish between them clearly if you are serious in your aspiration to evolve. It's hard to overemphasize how challenging this is. In all, but the rarest among us, the experience of consciousness or subjectivity is so close to the self-sense that it is almost impossible to objectify it enough to make these important distinctions. Unenlightened state. In the unenlightened state, we are so identified with the quality and content of whatever our subjective experience happens to be, from moment to moment, that it is difficult for us to know which dimension of our own self we are abiding in. So if we are interested in evolutionary enlightenment, we need to cultivate a profoundly objective interest in the science of the self rather than remaining lost in the subjective drama of our ever-changing inner experience. The teaching of evolutionary enlightenment emphasizes fundamental distinctions in the nature and expression of the self. There is the deepest part of your own self, the ground of all being. That ground is the unmanifest foundation of your own experience of consciousness, beyond this world of time and becoming. If you are interested in the development and evolution of your own consciousness, the most important thing to understand is that development only occurs in the manifest dimension. And in manifestation, there is a part of you that wants to evolve, and there is a part of you that definitely does not. The only reason that most people who insist they are interested in evolving don't actually change in the long run is simply that, usually, unknowingly, they identify more with the part of themselves that doesn't want to evolve, which of course is the ego, than with the part that does, which is the authentic self. This simple distinction is everything. The authentic self and the ego are two different worlds. They are two different perspectives. They are two completely different dimensions of who you are, and like parallel lines, they never meet. This is why most of us live in such a deeply divided state. And if we have not yet begun to awaken, we won't even know it. In moments of deep meditation, we may taste the timeless ground of our own being. In moments of spiritual inspiration, we may become so overwhelmed by the evolutionary impulse that we unselfconsciously become one with the authentic self. But sooner or later, we inevitably fall back into the personal world that the ego creates. And throughout all this, we do not even understand what is really occurring. We are just aware of the rise and fall of different emotional states. So simply beginning to make these all-important distinctions, making the effort to locate and identify these different dimensions of your own self from one moment to another, is a big part of what it means to awaken. If you want to consciously evolve, you need to become master of your own self. So when you feel the grip of fear and self-concern, when at a visceral level, you experience an irrational resistance to change, you need to understand that this is the inertia of your own ego. When you sink into a meditative state and you are mesmerized by absolutely nothing, captivated by the fragrance of eternity, you need to recognize that this is the quality of the unmanifest ground of your own being. Fearless passion. And when you experience the ecstatic thrill of creativity, a fearless passion for evolution that is infused with urgency and purposefulness, you need to be aware that that is the movement of the authentic self. You need to learn to be awake to each dimension of your own self as it is arising. That's objectivity. If you no longer want to be lost in the subjective fluctuation of your own experience, you need to cultivate radical objectivity. And the hardest thing to be objective about is oneself.